Everyone, welcome to Otaku Talk. It's me, your boy, your host, OD, and today we are reviewing and analyzing chapter 205 of Dr. Stone. This is a great chapter. I'm super excited to get into it. We get a lot of exposition on some stuff, and I just can't wait to see where the story goes from here. So without much further ado, let's get into it. But first, do me a solid, do me a favor. If this is your first time, or even if you know you're a reoccurring guest, I would really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe. Would mean the world to me. Absolutely. You know, trying to build my following one subscriber at a time. So please join my League of Otaku. Anyway, let's get into it. All right, guys, chapter 205 of Dr. Stone, the universe of zeros and ones. And I just have to say, it makes me super happy that the mangaka clearly watched my videos and decided to, address and answer all of my questions from last week. Yes, literally every question I proposed last week and the week before, he decided to answer today. So the chapter starts and we get a little bit more exposition into Ryusui's brother, and basically, from the jump, as long as he remembers, he's been good at math. However, if you ask him, he's gonna deny that shit. He's gonna be like, nah, because that's not what he wants to do. And I relate with that a lot. There have been things in my life that I've been good at. However, they're not my passion. They're not really what I want to do. So I can kind of get exactly where he's coming from, where he's like, yeah, I happen to be able to crunch numbers, but the place it really helps me in is this aspect of my life. And I cannot front. I lost my shit and I ugly laughed when you see baby Ryusui, after he finds out that Sai is like great at math. He's like, desire. Yo, that was too wild for me, Ryusui is such a great character, such a dope character, and I think he's an important character because, I think in society we grow up a lot kind of being hateful, angry, despising the rich, and from the jump, we were told that Ryusui is this rich motherfucker who wants all these things, who desires all these things, but the narrative hasn't been that makes him a bad person. It's just he's an ambitious person. He has a lot of wants and desires, and the only way to go about getting these things is to acquire wealth so that he can have what he wants. You can think of that as selfish, but at the end of the day, what we all kind of want that. We all want to be able to do what we want, but we have bills to pay. We have, we have to go to work so we can afford, our rent, our car, our cable, all the things in life that make us happy, unfortunately cost things. And like the way the mangaka has set this up, and I said this a few chapters ago, is it's not necessarily inherently wrong to do that. But, if you're at the higher echelon, you need to make sure to divvy out, some of your wealth to those working under you at a reasonable price, at a reasonable wage. Also, can we talk about how hilarious it was that at 4 years old, they had this man doing 10-digit times 10-digit math. Now, to be fair, it was addition, but the sheer fact that he was doing 10-digit plus 10-digit math was already kind of advanced. And then for him to go ahead and multiply it and get the correct answer is insane. I also love the panel underneath where you have Kohaku, Chrome, I always forget Senku's best friend's name, Taiju, and then you have Senku all doing math in their own way. And I'm literally Taiju. Like, if you give me paper and a pen, I could have done that. It wouldn't have been super quick and it would have been, a hassle, but it would have been done in the manner that Chrome was doing it. Senku, on the other hand, was doing some shortcut, blah, blah, blah math. And even he was saying that, like, yeah, this would take me quite some time. So I thought that was super impressive. And I like that. I also think it's kind of crazy how he thinks that mental math is pointless. Like, no, it's not. Like, I do agree that, given, certain resources, you can do like certain things like better than, well, not better, sorry. I do agree that being given certain resources can get you to that final result, but the sheer fact that you could do it instantly means that your brain works in a way that like we cannot possibly comprehend, that you can computate these numbers. And like the sheer fact that, as we find out later in this chapter, that he's a coder, he likes coding, this is the obvious reason for that. His turnaround time on video games and all that stuff would be massive, would be massive. It's a true gift, and for him to downplay it to this degree, I find to be hilarious. He says that, you know, anyone with a calculator can do that, but the thing is, like, humans, we make up for our weaknesses with tools. Do not get me wrong. But at the end of the day, it is incredibly vital. It is incredibly vital to have these tasks. You know, I used to be in Boy Scouts, but I haven't gone camping in a while. But it does kind of, you know, make me sad that I think about, man, if I was thrown into a, you know, a deserted island, I don't think I could survive. Like, I think shows like, you know, not quite Survivor, because that's a little bit played up, but, you know, Man versus Wild and stuff like that is still important. I think it's still important. And Senku, the main character of this entire series, has proven that while technology is awesome, something could happen at any moment that regresses us back into the Stone Age. Like, something I've always thought about was, you guys might be familiar with this show. It only had like a season or two run on, I believe, like ABC Family, but it was called Revolution. And basically, what happened was someone detonated an EMP, a nuke at high altitude, and basically the entirety of the U.S. basically all our electronics were fried. Everything was fried, and literally we couldn't use any technology. We had to go back to, like, I want to say, like, what was it, 40s? I'm not good with my history, but long story short, the whole plot was we regressed back in time because we didn't have this technology, and it hit people super hard because all these things we relied on technology to do, we could no longer rely on, and we just simply did not have the knowledge on our own to do half the things that we used to take for granted. And so I really do think that Senku and now Sai are both a great testament to why it is important to have the fundamental foundational knowledge and stuff like that, because, you know, there may be a time where you have to start over again, and we can't always rely on calculators and stuff like that. So I found that to be very interesting. Okay, so there was something I forgot to mention in my original review that I decided to go back and you know, address while I'm editing, and that was, Sai says something that's really, really important, and I think will have an impact, hopefully, at the end of the series. What I'm really hoping is that, you know, for whatever reason, we find out why man's, you know, rationales, his motives, for whatever he's doing, blah blah blah. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the very, very end, when there's a return to normalcy, right? When the where Senku's goal is met and everyone is you know, depetrified. This leaves a huge issue, and I'm really, really hoping that the end of the series isn't just, yay, we're all unpetrified, thank you, Senku, you're our hero, and then just, you know, that it ends there, blah blah blah. I would really love if there was at least, you know, one chapter, um or maybe, I guess it doesn't have to be a chapter, maybe it could be several panels within a chapter, but I would really love a chapter dedicated to the aftermath of you know, the depetrification of everyone, everyone adjusting to life without an abundance of technology. Because one thing I've always thought was super cool was how, you know, depending on the era you're raised in, you're used to certain things, right? If you've never had video games, you're not going to crave video games. If you've never had TV shows, you're not going to crave TV shows. So if you don't have all these things that you like, that like people in the future have, you know, you're not going to know what you're missing out on. However, all these people are going to reawaken in a stone age without any technology. And how are they going to deal with that? How are they going to bounce back? I anticipate many issues, and many, you know, mental issues, depression, sadness, pure boredom, people not being able to survive. What are we going to do about homes, etc.? So there is a lot for this series to explore that while I don't think it'll be a central focus, I do think would be very nice and very important for them to kind of like maybe address. Like as long as they address it, I'll be relatively happy. If they kind of go into it, that would be mwah, chef's kiss for me. But what he's saying is right. Like this dude is a coder. His whole spiel is coding. And he was revived in a world that doesn't have any computers or, technology of that nature. So what can he do? He likes video games. He's not gonna be able to play a video game. So what happens to all the Twitch streamers, the YouTubers, the people that, based that, took up occupations based upon what was available at their time? They're gonna be pretty superfluous, at least for the several decades that it's going to take to rebuild up civilization. So anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about. That's all I wanted to address, the fact that many people are going to be revived in this world where, there were cars, there were planes, there were all manner TV technology, cell phones, all manner of technology that we're not going to have anymore, and that's going to take us decades to get back to where we were at. And I would really, really love that explored. But anyway, to get to the point of the video where I talked about how the mangaka watched my videos and answered my questions, the first thing he addressed is why we don't have computers, right? So Senku goes on to say that semiconductors are extremely difficult to build. And you know what? I can't front. It's going to probably take someone along the lines of Joel to even work with machinery that small. And it's not just something as simple as like gears or like cutting a crystal. Like it's a bunch of wiring. Make sure they have the right materials, even though they did get a lot of ore from South America, so they possibly do have the materials to make it. But the sheer fact that that it's just, it would take 5 to 10 years to create. So I do understand now why we don't have computers and why he decided to pick a person. But then I thought another question that was answered was, hey, this is one guy. Like, yeah, I get that he's great at math, but there are rapidly changing conditions. They also mentioned Y-Man that I also mentioned. And, you need to be able to do these complex calculations at the drop of a hat. And you also have to realize that, like, you're not doing simple algebra. When it comes to space travel, I'm sure you're using calculus, geometry, and various other types of math. And so I truly knew that there was no way in hell this guy, as smart as he is, as fast as he could calculate, is going to be able to do the string of sheer calculations that would be necessary for safe, or as safe as possible, space travel. I love that they brought up some of the other things I said, like, okay, maybe, if he has a team, that's still a little bit, outside the realm of possibility, but it would make me feel better if, okay, he's the main brain and like he handles the main, offshooting calculations while they handle the basic ones that keep everything in line, right? So they explored that as a possibility, but we weren't quite sure. So, Sai goes away, goes to his room. He's a little disappointed. We find out more about him. We find out that he doesn't want to be into math. He doesn't want to be an actuary for the Nanami Corps. If you don't know what an actuary is simply someone that just calculates the risk of something. Like, for example, a big industry that employs actuaries are car manufacturers. Fun fact, did you know that there is a certain percentage of death that is allowed by car manufacturers? Basically, as long as you stay under a certain amount of deaths, even if a car has a problem, like for example, if you find out that a car, if you're traveling at 70 miles per hour with your AC at high and you play your music at, 30 decibels, the car will explode or something like that. Now, once again, I'm making a tremendously exaggeratory, hyperbolic claim, right? I'm just, I'm being crazy because, extreme examples make great examples, right? So if they crunch the numbers and find out that there's only a one in like, I don't know, like 50 million chance that like someone will do that, then they can release the car because the chance of that happening are so minuscule. Like you might be asking yourself, no, the sheer fact that something like that could happen should take it off the market. No, because it's about the probability of it happening. So basically, that's what an actuary does. And if you're wondering why I know so much about actuaries, childhood cartoons. Ron Stoppable, Kim Possible's partner in the Kim Possible series, his dad was an actuary. And so ever since I watched that episode where he explains his job, I'm just, all right, cool. That's what an actuary is. So never sleep on the power of childhood cartoons.
I'm an actuary. I can work anywhere people attach a dollar value to human life.
Anyway, moving on. So he goes to his room and he just starts drawing up a storm of code. We don't know what he's coding, but by the end of it, the whole entire room is covered in code, and we found out that it is the code for Dragon Quest. Now, I know I'm about to get some shame for this, but I personally have never played Dragon Quest. Not really into the JRPG scene. I don't like turn-based RPGs. One of my favorite RPGs growing up was Kingdom Hearts. I love hack and slashes. I'm not that great at games, even though I do have a Twitch channel. Please feel free to check it out. Twitch.tv/Nija_Nightmare. I play League of Legends and Genshin a lot. I might explore some other games. I'm thinking about Final Fantasy. But yeah, anyway, enough with that plug. So completely rewrites the code to Dragon Quest. Once again, how it's possible to do that, how someone is able to do that, I do not know. That is far beyond me. But this motherfucker somehow does it, which, by the way, super impressive. I still want to know how you know a code to a game that like you weren't a part of, unless in this universe, he worked on the Dragon Quest game, but I don't know. That doesn't really make too much sense to me. He made up his own version. But then something interesting happens, and I'm quite confused on this. So if someone could let me know, I would appreciate it. Maybe I missed a clue in the story. But yeah, so this is the part that I need you guys' help on. So after finding out about the code, we're told that like if you can make an NES, you can make a rocket fly, right? And on top of that, let me check here. We're told that, yeah, machine code, I'm assuming it could also be translated as binary, is the most direct way to talk to a computer and the oldest type of programming language there is. When he originally wrote it down, he said, I figured, even though we don't have a computer now, it's something we can use for later. And so my question is, why all of a sudden was computing out of the questions? Computer was completely out of the question. There was a 5 to 10 year time span that we were given, and now all of a sudden Senku is completely optimistic about creating a computer. So some people might initially be like, oh, it was just because of the coding aspect. We weren't going to be able to code the programs and stuff that would make the calculations work. But Senku very clearly and specifically says that the issue is that of the semiconductor, right? So what do you guys think? Was he saying that it would take 5 to 10 years for the semiconductor, or was he saying that, it would take 5 to 10 years for the semiconductor plus them to try to figure out how to code it? But because of Sai's ability to code, that's going to cut so much time in half, where it might just take them maybe a year or two of research and development to produce a semiconductor, and then basically have Sai code everything, and bada bing, bada boom, we have a computer. So I'm very interested in that. Do you think that there will be, maybe not 5 years, but maybe 1 or 2 years where they try to develop a semiconductor, try to build a computer? How do you think we go from here? Do you think they're going to have one computer? Do you think they're going to have multiple computers? Also, do you think that simply having a computer is going to start and stop at making the rocket fly? All I'm saying is that we have a computer, a world of possibilities opens up for us. Maybe we could start creating. All right, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll start thinking about like 3D printing and like maybe just all the other things that the computational power of a computer can help wield would be nice. Also, another question I did have, and I was confused about. Feel free to help me out here and answer. is just because you know the code to Dragon Quest per se, is that just something that you could run on any computer? Like, I feel like the hardware and all the other stuff necessary to like run the computer would have to be super advanced, right? You're gonna have issues with the graphics, you're gonna have issues with the heating and cooling. You're going to need a lot to sustain this computer. Where are you gonna get your power from? Obviously, we've seen in the past that that hasn't been a real issue. Senku has been able to make generators and stuff, but computers are very delicate instruments. So I'm wondering, how is he going to make the power adapters and whatnot? But overall, you see how like this chapter has me like the wheels turning. So that's what I like in a chapter. The fact that it gets me thinking of all these issues, all these problems, how they've solved it, and how they plan to solve future problems and tackle future problems. But yeah, there's a lot going on. I'm very excited for it. Adding a computer to the Stone Age will do so much for the story and so much for the characters in the story, and it's gonna help us leap by leaps and bounds in terms of what we're able to do. Maybe Sai's power outside of simply game coding, he can maybe create some kind of code or program that'll help us find out, extrapolate information on the world around us and Y-Man, and maybe try to figure out his goals. I don't know. I'm out here just sci-fiing it up. But I'm very, very excited for this edition. I was kind of a little bit lackluster and nervous about it, but as the stories progress, I'm like, no, I'm really down for this. I'm really excited for this additional character and what it will bring for the story. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it here for now. What did you guys think about this chapter? What do you have? Did you have any questions about this chapter? Do you have any theories about this chapter? And aren't you happy that the mangaka checked me out and answered a lot of the questions I posed last review? Means I'm coming up in the world, right? Just JK. But very excited. So anyway, thank you for tuning in. This has been Otaku Talk. I'm your host, OD. And like I said earlier, please like, share, and subscribe. Would mean the world to me. Join my League of Otaku. Anyway, signing out. Peace. Have a great day. Take care.
Ronald, crunching numbers is what I do.
Oh! And what kind of hero are you?
I'm no hero. I'm Actuary of the Year.
They should totally teach this way in tricks.
Totally.
How were you ever able to calculate my every move?
It was easy. I did the math.